This is a fascinating and controversial story about an animal lover from New Zealand who has lived a life deeply devoted to the care and protection of hundreds of wild pigs. Stuart Edmondson, known locally as Pigman, became a beloved figure for many due to his unyielding commitment to his animals. However, his life took a tragic turn when years of harassment from poachers escalated into a violent confrontation. On December 13, 2024, Edmondson shot two men on his property, one of whom died, the other critically injured. The incident has sparked widespread debate. Was Edmondson justified in his actions, or did he go too far? We're curious to know whose side people will be on by the end of the story. Tragic incident in Coromandel. A reclusive man, his pigs, and the deadly consequences of poaching. On December 13, 2024, the quiet and isolated surroundings of Coromandel, New Zealand, were shattered by a gunshot. The shooter, 77-year-old Stuart Edmondson, shot two men on his property, resulting in one fatality and the other being critically injured. Kevin Mabbott, 41, died from gunshot wounds to the chest, while his companion, Aaron Buckland, was airlifted to a hospital in Auckland, suffering serious injuries. Edmondson, also known as Pigman, was arrested shortly after the incident and charged with murder and attempted murder. This tragic event is tied to a history of escalating tensions on Edmondson's rural property, where for decades he had lived in the company of hundreds of wild pigs. A gentle, reclusive man, known for his love of animals, Edmondson's life was devoted to the care of these boars. However, his devotion to the animals made him a target for poachers, setting the stage for a confrontation that would lead to deadly consequences. A life dedicated to pigs. Stuart Edmondson, a native of New Zealand, lived on a remote stretch of land along Highway 309, a rugged, often treacherous road on the North Island. For over 70 years, he resided on land purchased by his parents, where he built a unique life in the company of wild pigs. These pigs were not just animals to him, they were his family. He referred to them as semi-wild boars and cared for them with a level of devotion that led many to view him as eccentric. He named all these semi-wild pigs and gave each of them names. He never eats any of them, as he treats them like family. Known locally as Pigman, Edmondson's property became a destination for tourists and animal lovers from around the world, drawn by the opportunity to interact with his friendly pigs. He famously allowed visitors to cuddle his boars, take photos, and learn about their personalities. His reputation for kindness to animals was well known, and he gained local fame through documentaries and online features, including a 2018 film about his life and his bond with the animals he cared for. However, Edmondson's love for the pigs came at a personal cost. Despite his reclusive nature, Edmondson had a reputation for being a deeply caring man who would go to great lengths to protect his pigs. He even prioritized their welfare over his own, often spending all his money on their care, including paying for veterinary services, which he did without hesitation. His dedication to his animals earned him the admiration of many, but it also put him at odds with others. Poaching problems escalate. The real trouble began when the wild boars attracted the attention of hunters. New Zealand has a rich hunting tradition, and many were drawn to Edmondson's property by the large number of pigs. As his fame grew, so did the number of poachers who trespassed on his land, targeting the pigs for illegal hunting. This led to countless confrontations between Edmondson and those attempting to capture or kill his animals. Over time, His herd dwindled from 100 pigs to just over 50 due to repeated poaching and killings. The poachers would often arrive under the cover of night, hunting illegally on Edmondson's land. Some even resorted to running over the pigs with their vehicles. Despite Edmondson's repeated efforts to report these incidents to the authorities, the police seemed indifferent, and the harassment continued. One of Edmondson's friends, Mock Johnson, described how Stewart had become trapped on his property, unable to leave for fear that poachers would raid his pigs in his absence. The situation escalated further when some poachers began to target Edmondson directly. They taunted him, stole his animals, and even caused deliberate harm to the pigs, killing them in brutal and cruel ways. This harassment pushed Edmondson to the brink, and on the fateful day of December 13th, he took drastic action. The day of the shooting. On December 13th, the situation boiled over. As a pair of poachers, Kevin Mabbott and Aaron Buckland, entered Edmondson's property with the intent to steal pigs, they were confronted by Edmondson. Witnesses later revealed that the two men had been seen driving with a dead pig in their trunk. This led many to believe that they had been involved in slaughtering the animals. When confronted, Edmondson, overwhelmed by years of mistreatment, finally fired his weapon. Mabbott was struck in the chest and died from his injuries, while Buckland was seriously wounded, requiring emergency medical care. Edmondson was arrested shortly after the incident, and he now faces charges of murder and attempted murder. According to witnesses, on that day, they saw someone lying on the road with a dead pig in the person's car trunk. It looked like he had been slaughtering pigs earlier. The deceased's family was devastated, with his mother saying, "Our vibrant, lovable, wild, reckless, and free-spirited child is gone." The incident sparked a huge controversy. Stewart's efforts to protect the wild pigs made him a lone hero, and public opinion overwhelmingly sided with him. One supporter said that Stewart, a local New Zealander, had been dealing with people killing animals on his land for the past 40 years. The police investigation into the shooting revealed that the two men had been regular poachers with a history of harassing Edmondson. Although the shooting is tragic, public opinion has been divided. Many locals and supporters of Edmondson have shown sympathy for his actions, citing the years of harassment he endured at the hands of poachers. Public reaction, sympathy, and outrage. The shooting sparked widespread public debate. Many people, particularly in the local community, expressed sympathy for Edmondson, viewing him as a victim of years of mistreatment. Supporters argue that Edmondson was simply trying to protect his beloved animals and that the authorities had failed to intervene in a timely manner to stop the poaching. One of Edmondson's neighbors, Heather, described the rampant poaching on his property and the cruelty with which the animals were treated. She said, "Stewart never kills or eats his pets or other animals. Once, I saw a crossbow bolt lodged in the pig's throat. He took the pig to the vet to have the bolt removed, which cost him $400 New Zealand dollars. Without hesitation, he spent the money to save that pig." This made him deeply sad for many years. In the days following the incident, an outpouring of support flooded in for Edmondson. Donors contributed nearly 60,000 New Zealand dollars to support the relocation of his remaining pigs. Animal welfare groups, including HUHA, were able to rescue and rehome over 50 pigs and 3 dogs from Edmondson's property. These animals were transported to a sanctuary where they would be cared for and protected from further harm. Despite the support, the case has led to significant legal proceedings. Edmondson appeared in court shortly after the shooting, where his name was revealed and he was formally charged. He pleaded not guilty to murder and attempted murder, and his next court hearing is scheduled for February 2025. A tragic end to a life devoted to animals. The tragedy in Coromandel highlights the complexities of rural life, where devotion to animals can clash with the pressures of hunting and poaching. While the loss of a human life is undeniably tragic, many argue that Edmondson's actions were a response to years of torment and cruelty inflicted on him and his animals. His life was spent in isolation, tending to the needs of the animals that brought him joy and companionship, and his actions, although extreme, were a response to the repeated violation of his property and the suffering of his pigs. The legal and moral questions surrounding the shooting are still to be determined, and the case will continue to unfold over the coming months. For now, Edmondson's supporters maintain that he is a man who loved his animals and simply could not endure the constant cruelty and harassment any longer. His life, defined by a deep love for his pigs, ended in tragedy, both for the lives lost and the animals left behind. As this story continues to capture the public's attention, it serves as a stark reminder of the emotional toll of animal cruelty and the complex intersection between law, morality, and justice.